My name's Daniel Hoffmann-Gill. I play Bors in Doctor Who, and you're listening to Mark Who 42. Dude, it's Mark Who 42. You've got to be listening to this.
Mark Who 42 would like to welcome one of our sponsors, Highlander Novelties Comics and Games. They are run by my good friends Christian and Wendy Gillespie. Christian, they are good people, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I was just about to say, I was like, I don't run that store. Or
Not
the other
you,
Christian.
the other Christian. Highlander Novelties is a one-stop shop for pop and geek culture items.
Yes.
They specialize in the unique and throwback characters from the past and present. They've got comic books. They've got decals for your car. They've got signs. They make them themselves. They have a new location at the West Oaks Mall at 9401 West Colonial Drive, Suite 520, Ocoee, Florida, 34761. That's like right outside Orlando, isn't it, Christian?
A bit northwest outside of Orlando. Yeah, we were very excited to be part of the grand opening that they had out there, and are even more excited that they've joined the family of sponsors here at Mark Who 42. You can check them out on their Facebook site. Again, as Mark mentioned, they are in Ocoee, Florida. Check out their Facebook site for their business hours. Check out for also any specials going on. I believe on their site they're having a special on October the 28th for Halloween Comic
Fest. Yes, they're having the Halloween Comic Fest 2017 and costume contest on the 28th. Just look up Highlander Novelties in the search bar and you'll find them. And please don't forget to tell them Mark Who 42 sent you.
Welcome to Mark Who 42. We're back. We're back to take you to the WHOniverse and Beyond. I am Christian Basel. I'm going to be your host today, and with me is
Zon Quiros.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we're talking about oncoming storms. You see the segue there. Folks, we had to take a week off, unfortunately, because of Mother Nature. And, Hurricane Irma. It was the most scariest moment, I think, for all of us who live and reside here in Florida. And out of the 5 members of the team, 4 of us were deeply affected by it. It was a scary sight to see. We know that there were lives lost. We know that property damage is going to be taken a while. And even as we speak right now, even when we're recording this, we still have friends out there who don't even have power or water. So we want to give all of our blessings, hopes, and thoughts to everybody who was affected by both Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Harvey. Devastating hurricanes that came up through the states just right behind each other.
Indeed. Everyone get better soon.
Yeah, and especially that 2 other hurricanes just formed right when Irma was packing her punch towards us. So it was Jose and Katia?
Mm-hmm.
And we're like,
Katia.
okay, is there anything else you want to... Poor Florida is just sitting there going, okay, all right, fine. One of you at a time. We don't need all this. So, how'd you hold up there, Zion?
We actually held up much better than what we expected, because we wasn't really supposed to go to Pensacola to get out of the way, but it went westward, so we decided to stay and whatnot. But my grandma lives in Key West, so we didn't know if her house was going to survive or not.
And did it?
There's no damage at all.
Wow, jeez.
Yeah, so like me hearing that 1 in 4 houses in the Florida Keys are destroyed and 2 out of 4 are damaged, and have my house in almost the dead eye center of it not hurt at all. I'm actually very thankful and very surprised.
Well,
how about on your end?
It was totally scary. I mean, I'm one of those idiots. Let me just say right now, I'm one of those idiots who've got to go outside and see for myself. And I actually did some Facebook Lives, which I think one of them could have been like my last Facebook Live. I'm just being an idiot going, this going like, you're supposed to stay inside, you're supposed to stay inside, but you get curious about these things. And I went outside for one time, and it's just normal windy day. The hurricane's coming, but you don't think 2 things of it. Second time I went outside, now you're seeing the trees thrash back and forth, and the trees have never been tossed around as hard as this hurricane's now doing it, but okay, fine, I can still see outside. The third time I go out there, and I did a Facebook Live, and I was like, I was trying to show people what was going on, and it was so dark because it it just turned to night in Orlando, that it was impossible to see. But you could hear the storms off of my Facebook page. You could hear it, and at one point, you could feel the gusts get so hard. It was like, you could hear me at the end of the video going, okay, I'm going back inside. I'm done here. We're hunkered down. That's it. We're not going back outside at all for the rest of the night. But yeah, it was kind of scary. They tell you that you hear that train noise before, tornadoes hit, and I was hearing that noise for a good hour. It's just like...
My house was rocking back and forth while I was upstairs. It's weird how we live in a spot that's really prone to hurricanes, but we've been very lucky that it's been 12 years or so since Wilma hit, and then all of a sudden this comes, and it's like it's almost making up for lost time.
Well, it was something like the 2004 hurricane pelting that we got from Charlie, Ivan, Gene, all those guys that came up over here. And I'm not going into politics, but I would say our governor had his act together. And I'm sure all these people had their act together, even though they're still cleaning up. I mean, it was a category 3 to 4. And not only that, but if anybody remembers the storms of 2004, and I forget which hurricane, I think it was Charlie, if I'm not mistaken, when Jeb was our governor. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to go up one path and decided to go up another path. So Jeb is going, okay, everybody go to Tampa. Everybody go to Tampa. You'll be safe there because it's going up the Space Coast. And then as soon as it went up to Tampa, he's going, okay, everybody head up the other way. Just get out of Florida. Get out of Florida. And when Rick Scott was doing it, it was the same exact thing. He was going like, okay, you guys head out west, go to Tampa. It's heading up the Space Coast. Just you can go to the store. And as soon as it goes to Tampa, as soon as the trajectory moves through the state and then goes to Tampa, he's going, you know what, get the heck out of here. Get out of Dodge. This is ridiculous. And it was terrifying. It was like, okay, if you're there, get the heck out of there. But things that I wasn't even expecting. Like, I think they gave free Wi-Fi to the entire state. It didn't matter what cell phone plan you had. He said, we're working with AT&T Sprint. Everybody was giving free Wi-Fi during the time of the storm. Never even occurred to me that was the case. I never, it was like, oh, you know what? We can communicate to each other while the storm is going on. It hits the fan. We can tell people. Mm-hmm. There were other services. I can't think off the top of my head. But if you were in an evacuation zone and you couldn't get out, there was a phone number you could call. I never even thought about that. Because I think for most of the time that we've had this, I don't think we've had that kind of service. Now, they were saying, hey, we may not be able to get out there, but we're letting you know you got a number to call if your car breaks down. And I had a few friends who were in evacuations that they couldn't get out. So they had to hunker down. Mm-hmm. They're safe. But I was just like, at least there was something as far as communications concerned. I don't know if they could have gotten out of there or how many people use that, but it was well organized as far as the recovery.
Yep, P's and Q's, and everything went smoothly as far as I can see over here from my end.
Yeah.
So I got to give them credit for that.
So, yeah, we had to skip a week for recording, but I hope you understand the storm hit on the day that we normally record our segments. So Mark, from what I understand, is still having issues. I think he doesn't have internet right now, but we're still going to have a new episode as we're listening right now to Mark Who 42, and we are going to have special guest Daniel Hoffmann-Gill, who played Bors in the Doctor Who series prequel, The Doctor's Meditation, and on The Magician's Apprentice, better known as Dude. So... And we're actually going to talk about that because it felt so bad. It was like, do you feel like the Big Lebowski anytime somebody walks into the room and mentions that? So a lot of things that we had to recover over last weekend, and we're slowly getting back to things. For the most part, most of us are already back up and running. We're still planning to do conventions that are coming up. We'll speak of those at the end of the show. But for right now, just to let you know, we're doing fine. All of the members, as far as I know, of the cast are still with us. Everybody is, for the most part, safe. I know Patty was coming back from Dragon Con, and I think he hunkered down at his house. And Iggy, lucky her, she's in Virginia. So not much to worry about, but she was keeping tabs on us and making sure, and she'd let us know if we needed anything that we were going to be, she was going to be there for us. So one of the great things about working on this team is that we were all looking out for each other during the time. So I'm glad everybody made it safe. Not so much for some other people in the state. So they're on our thoughts, they're on our hopes, they're on our prayers today. And for the most part, they're going to be there for a very long time because we're still recovering over Hurricane Irma. But on a lighter note, let's get back into some normalcy that we normally do on the show, whatever you consider normal on the show. We're going into Mark Who 42 news. let's get back to some normalcy with our show, with Mark Who 42 News, sponsored by MarkWho42.net. You can see a lot of these articles that we're going to be mentioning, and a few outside of the Whoniverse that we haven't had a chance to put on our website, but there are very, very breaking news that just happened recently. But Zion, start it off for us, my friend.
If you was with us for Florida SuperCon and or not living under a rock, you know that we were with Peter Capaldi on stage for the Q&A, and the person running the Q&A was none other than our own Patty Hawkins.
Patty, woo!
How did you feel about that whole day with Peter Capaldi?
It was surreal, for a better term. I don't like using that word, but that's what it felt like, especially when they're bringing up the Capaldi cosplayers up there. And I put on my glasses. I don't know if anybody's seen it, and you can actually see it in the video. I had these glasses that I normally walk around with conventions that just has the attack brows, his eyes out there. And I was like, Patty, does this qualify as cosplay? Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. I'm like, okay. So I brought him up on stage, and you can see the video on MarkWho42.net for yourself. The title is Hawkins and Capaldi 101. And click on the video, and Peter looks at me for a split second, and he just points at me and gives it a good laugh. So I'm glad he enjoyed seeing somebody do that for him. But yeah, I just it was just surreal. It was wonderful.
Being up there, I honestly thought that he was another cosplayer until I had a really good look at him, because I had my the Sonic sunglasses on. So I'm here like, oh my goodness, this man's on stage. Oh my goodness, people are recording this. I'm on TV. Funny part is that wasn't the best part for me and Capaldi. Like, I took a photo op with another one of our people from Marco 42, Rebecca, and I took a picture with my Scaroth costume. So
that's right.
And he was there like, oh my goodness, look at him. So I walked to him and he says, I have not seen that face in a long time. And honestly, that right there just made my entire day. Of course, the next day on stage with Capaldi was great and all, but that one moment with, I want to say, my doctor is a very important part of that whole thing.
That's awesome. If you've seen pictures from The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, and I even posted it on the profile page for Mark Who 42 for a while. I think it's still up there, maybe. I went in there to take a picture of the Traveling TARDIS with Peter, and I walk into the room, hand Peter the TARDIS, walk away, and Peter just gives me this weird look. It's like, what do you want me to do with this? And I was like, what you normally would do with it. And if you've seen the picture of Peter taking that first picture, it was just fun. People are going, I don't think you're going to get a better picture. And I said, I may not, but I'll try, But it's just a phenomenal picture. It's just attack brows with his hand over the TARDIS. It was gorgeous. I think you've seen it, right?
That picture is my wallpaper.
I think everybody was there. They made it their wallpaper on their cell phone. It's like, yeah, that was crazy there. But what made it even more interesting, this is, I know that Peter is for the fans. I started walking away, and I had his T-shirt, and I gave him one of our Mark Who 42 T-shirts, and he was, no, you're going to get your picture. I'm like, I already did. And he goes, no, you're taking a picture with me. At the dismay of the photographers that were in the room, he grabs me, pulls me over, and goes, take the picture. And he's got the Mark Who 42 T-shirt in his hand. I've got mine on, and and the look of like me trying to smile and at the same time in the surreal moment was really scary. I was just like, and I could see all the people who were taking the picture going like, well, what's just happened here? So they took the picture. So I got 2 pictures out of the whole deal because Peter was upset that I would not take a picture with him. So he made sure that I got one on the way, and I was just happy as can be. But we want to thank the folks at Florida SuperCon, Mike Broder and his wonderful team of volunteers, and everybody down there for their hospitality. Also, not only did Patty get to interview Peter Capaldi, he also interviewed a ton of other people, including Karen Gill, which we don't unfortunately have the video thereof, but if you were there, it was just a wonderful moment.
Indeed.
Again, we want to thank everybody at Florida SuperCon, Mike Broder and his wonderful team. Definitely, we are looking at coming back in 2018 to see some new faces, to see some new talent, and just to see some new Whovians who may have not just come across us. And I think we had a wonderful experience over there with all the Whovians.
Oh, yeah.
That were there at every single panel that we were at. I was just geeking out. I was just like, wow, okay, I'm on this. So I want to thank also all the fans who came out to see us, who really appreciate that.
Indeed. Most definitely the fans, because we had 11 plus panels over the span of 4 days.
Something like that, yeah.
And they toughed it out with us. So thank you guys. It means a lot.
Again, Florida SuperCon, definitely. We can't wait until 2018 and the new year to come out. Unfortunately, as we segue for new stuff to come out, unfortunately, there's one thing we are not going to be seeing in the years to come. The official announcement for Class that the BBC has finally confirmed it is canceled. They will be no longer pursuing it. Now, I know a lot of people are coming up and said, didn't they cancel it? They put it on hiatus, and it was kind of just tinkering around, and maybe they'll bring it back. I think they were trying to see how it was going to do at BBC America. I don't know the ratings or whatnot, but apparently I guess it didn't do too well enough to be picked back up. So, unfortunately, Class is officially canceled as far as the BBC is concerned. What does this mean? That if Class is ever to come back, it'll have to find a new home with something like Netflix or something like that. But I get the feeling that Class is not going to be returning anytime soon. It may. A lot of people are kind of tweaking. I think there was a story that came out, and there is a rumor that they might continue the series through Big Finish. But from what I understand, at least the BBC is not going to be pursuing the series anymore. And if you want to listen, and we should have it posted up on our Facebook page, definitely on MarkWho42.net or anywhere you listen to Mark Who 42, you can hear the episodes that Mark, Iggy, and I did that are specially for Class itself. When it premiered on the BBC, we got to see it. And you get your take on how we felt about Class, and you can respond to us and say, hey, you know what, I agree with you guys or I disagree with you guys. But I think for the most part, we kind of had the same feeling about Class. Did you see Class yet there, Zion?
Yeah, I saw it. And
you didn't give us a take. Give us your take on it.
It follows the same feeling that I feel about spin-offs, particularly with Doctor Who spin-offs, is that they try to deviate from the feeling of Doctor Who and whatnot, trying to make things either darker and or lighter, like Torchwood or the Sarah Jane Adventures. While I think that a true spin-off should keep the same feeling but on a different spectrum of the story. It's kind of like how Star Trek Voyager and Deep Space Nine are continuations of the Next Generation, but they still keep the same tone and the same vibe of Star Trek. And like that's something that the spin-offs I feel like are lacking. Like if I was to do a spin-off personally, it would be about another Time Lord or something else that could still hold the concept of Doctor Who exploration of time and space, but have it on a different spectrum of either someone with a different morals or someone with a different way of time travel or something else.
Well, I'm riding with you on that because the thing that kind of irked me the most about this is that Class is a spin-off, but it's going to be its own thing, which spin-offs are supposed to be. But to me, at that point, it's like saying, well, why don't you just start a new series with a new show called Class and have nothing to do with Doctor Who? Or maybe the Doctor pops in, you know, like how CSI did, where somebody from another CSI came in, kind of supported the show that everybody was in the same universe. So why make it a spin-off? You could have just invited Capaldi to play the Doctor, came in for about 10 minutes and then did his own thing and left. I don't know how this is considered a spin-off. I don't want to go too much into this because we've already had episodes about this, but I think it didn't have the same core that Sarah Jane Smith, Torchwood, K9 and Company had, with the exception of K9 and Company not being too successful after its premiere, that it continued on, that, yeah, it explored the universe more. And spoilers, I'm sorry for people, but when they said that they weren't going to have any classic monsters, that wasn't necessarily true. So I'm going to leave it at that. I won't say who, I won't say where, when, why, and how it comes up, but it was supposed to intrigue you to have another season, and I didn't think it was strong enough. I honestly thought it was a latch-ditch effort because I didn't think the series was doing too well. I almost thought that they edited it in and said, hey, okay, we're going to bring in a classic monster just so that we can keep the Whovians up to speed. Some people, I was reading it, they loved it. Some people, I think for the most part, they thought it was a misfire. They had so much potential, and it just didn't go the way they planned.
It definitely had potential.
It did.
Considering the setting and whatnot, but it just fell flat story-wise.
I think the focus should have been more around Quill.
Yes. Yeah.
Than just the students. I think the students should have been there onto the side, but I think it should have been similar to a companion-doctor relationship where you have more of a violent character like Quill. And I think she kind of should have assumed the doctor role, but in this particular case, she has to deal with the companions, and they're not up to speed like companions that we have on Doctor Who. And they kind of learn and mold from each other, Quill and the students, and then I can accept that the title is Class, because I don't even know what Class was about, with the exception of it was taking place at Colville, and that was it. So, unfortunately, Class will not be going on any further. However, out of the ashes of Class comes a companion we thought was dead, or at least that's what we were led to believe in one of the episodes of Doctor Who, but Russell T. Davies says that she might have survived. Harriet Jones, Prime Minister. There is an article called Jones Escape on MarkWho42.net that you can get more details into that, but apparently Russell T is coming out to saying now that Harriet Jones did not die during the Dalek attack. Spoilers. But there's going to be more to that, and you can read the article for yourself at MarkWho42.net titled Jones's Escape.
I'm sorry, this does not make this.
It's a new book of poems.
When it comes down to this, like, you could break this down to the bare bones, and you get the gist of why this does not work. The Daleks are like Klingons in terms of they don't take prisoners. They kill you right on the spot. She had two in front of her. Unless she has Ace's bat to smash all of their parts in, she's not living.
Yeah. Russell T. Davies had written a book of poems. In the new book of poems, he explains what happened to Harriet Jones, Prime Minister, but I think I follow suit with what Patty and Mark have said about where the series is going as far as the dead need to stay dead, or else it just doesn't function. Adric cannot come back. Yes. Adric needs to stay dead. When the dead stay dead, they need to stay dead. When Clara Prime goes dead, then that should have been the end of it, or at least that's what some people think. You know, otherwise you take out the punch that the death caused. Mm-hmm. It would almost be like if Eonto all of a sudden showed up, which I'm sure there are people in the fandom WHOniverse that just think, it would be great. What if he came back and da-da-da? And it's like, at some point you just got to say, they got to stay dead or else the death means very little. Otherwise, we are Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and we can bring him back whenever we damn well feel like it. And we're just going to kill them off just because we want an emotional take. But I think for a while it has to be dead. What's your take on this?
I don't want Doctor Who to end up like Dragon Ball Z. That's all it is. I don't want
Can you explain that more?
Yeah, sure. I don't want people to be killed, and then people who watch Dragon Ball Z know this correctly, but I'm going to explain it. When people die in Dragon Ball Z, they don't die like they go to heaven, but they could be brought back with the Dragon Balls if they've only been killed once. So, like, if someone gets killed, you really don't feel anything for the death at all, because it's either A, they're going to come back, or B, they're dead, but they're going to keep talking to Goku from Kami's place. Mm-hmm. And death is a very watery thing in Dragon Ball Z, and it's ending up like that in Doctor Who now. Because, like, with Russell T. Davies saying, she's my character, that's my episode, I say that's true. That's not how this works. You gotta stay between the lines of the story and the characters and how aliens act and whatnot, particularly the most famous alien in the show. So, I can't ride with this. She's still dead to me. She's still dead.
The dead needs to stay dead. Speaking of people who are dying, we have the synopsis, thanks to MarkWho42News.net. We have the synopsis to Twice Upon a Time, the Christmas special that's coming up with David Bradley and Peter Capaldi playing their respective doctors, 1 and 12, and also co-stars Mark Gatiss. And they finally released the synopsis, and here it is. 2 doctors stranded in a forbidden snowscape, refusing to face regeneration. And I have a little bit of quorum with that little statement right there at the very beginning. I think we all do. I know Patty does. And a British Army captain seemingly destined to die in the First World War, but taken of the trenches to play his part in the Doctor's story. This is the magical last chapter in the 12th Doctor's epic journey. He must face his past to decide his future, and the Doctor will realize from the resilience of humanity, discovering hope in his darkest frozen moment, let it go, in the end of an era. But the Doctor's journey is only just beginning. We also know that Pearl Mackie is coming back as Bill Potts. We don't know how exactly that's going to happen, but yeah, it's nice to see David Bradley. It's nice to see multi-Doctors, and it's nice to see that David Bradley has been tapped to play the first Doctor. Based upon that synopsis, what do you think about that?
I'm going to bring it back to what we just said, the dead need to stay dead.
Yeah.
But I don't know, refusing to face regeneration. Mm-hmm. When I watched the 10th Planet, it didn't seem like the 10th Doctor was...
And that's where I was going with that. Yeah, he was just like, I know this is going to happen and I need to do this. But I don't know. I'll watch the story. I've come to this conclusion. Okay, I've seen the synopsis. Let's do this. Let's see what you got. This is Moffat's Swan Songs too, so it's going to be a big whatever big thing they're going to have.
Also, the fact that they just refer to Mark Gatiss's character as just the captain scares me, because they don't really just say the captain unless they're trying to hide something.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there is.
I'm just going to just throw it out there. I'm going to assume that this is the Brigadier's dad or something.
Well, I don't know. Like you're saying, I'm just going to let it ride right now. There's nothing more to it. I think I was geeking out, as Mark mentioned, when I saw David Bradley come back as the first Doctor in that canon series, as opposed to a documentary. Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, here's a perfect segue. David Bradley to play the first Doctor for Big Finish. That's right, the original crew, the companions and everybody who played roles in Adventures in Space and Time are going to be doing Doctor Who audios. This will be the first audio that David Bradley has done as the first Doctor for Big Finish. And I'm really excited about this. We get a great actor to play the first role. He's done it before. He did it in a documentary. Now he's actually doing it as the Doctor. And the way that he's encompassed what William Hartnell was, with the best of what William was during that time, I think will hopefully translate into the audios. I'm really excited about that.
Oh, I am most definitely looking forward to this because I've been recently got bit by the Big Finish bug and whatnot. So I've been waiting to see how David Bradley might be able to transition into the first Doctor through audio. But one thing that I want to know is that if they're doing this, will they do this for the guy that played the second Doctor for Big Finish as well?
Not sure. There's a possibility. I mean, what do you think about having an actual person replacing a Doctor's voice? Because the third Doctor, Katie Manning, works with him. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that?
Given the circumstances, as William Hartnell's dead and Peter Charlton and John Pertwee are deceased, God rest their soul, this allows it. I see no disrespect in it. It's fine because time moves on.
Right.
People go. And I don't think that the people who originally played these roles would just want their character to die along with them.
Well, I mean, they keep expanding the stories. They have a new life, and even though it's somebody totally different, as long as they encapsulate what was the best of their originals and move on to stories that can be reflected upon the present day, I think. Because when you hear about the first three Doctors, a lot of the current folks don't know too much about them.
Right.
It's always going to be from John Hurt on, in respect, in some cases, Paul McGann. But when it comes to the classic Doctors, they kind of just left on their own, and even though Big Finish has kind of put them in audio to try to lengthen their time frame, how do you get the current folks today to come back and say, listen, they've had their adventures on audio, and maybe if you appreciate them here at Big Finish on audio, maybe you'll appreciate their time as the Doctor even more, even though it was during a time where there was no CGI, you know, the budgets were really, really small, and the acting was a little bit over the top.
I'll say this, the exact thing you're asking for is what they should have done for the 50th anniversary. That was the perfect time to get the new fans into the old Who as an introduction to it, rather than just having their faces being shown on like 8 different blue screens for like half a second. You could have actually brought some people in. Like, I'm pretty sure at the time, maybe David Bradley might have done the first Doctor for the 50th, coming straight off of Adventures in Time and Space. So you could have had some leeway, even with the old Doctors, with Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, Peter Davison, when they just did the 5-ish Doctors.
Right.
You could have at least brought them back at least in some form or way to at least introduce the new fans into the classic.
That's funny, actually, when you say that, because now I'm thinking to myself, they could have been brought back as, like, Return of the Jedi with Obi-Wan Kenobi as those little mists in the background.
Yeah.
Walking around, just going, okay, we're done here. Everything's good. The series is on. Yeah, I can't wait for that. I definitely can't wait for that. I'll be very, very excited when we start having the audios come out there, and especially when we start distributing at the conventions themselves.
And this new segment of Mark Who 42 has been brought to you by Cosplay Convention Center. You can see more information about them at markwho42.net. The great thing about this is they are a database for cosplayers, for practically anybody who works in the convention limelight. If you're looking for us, they have a database that not only narrows down where we're going to be, but if you're looking, let's say, for Doctor conventions in your area, Doctor conventions in general, or other genres, you can go to their site and you can go into the database, narrow down your search to locations that are close by to you. It's a wonderful database tool to use if you need information about your favorite genre, your favorite podcast, where they're going to appear, all of that. Check it out for yourself. Go down to markwho42.net and click on the icon for Cosplay Convention Center. You'll be glad you did. Tell them markwho42.net sent you.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. Don't go anywhere, because next up we're going to have special guest Daniel Hoffmann-Gill, who played Bors in the prequel, The Doctor's Meditation and The Magician's Apprentice. Dude, don't go anywhere. Dude, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of Mark Who 42.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
Hey, Mark, are you busy?
Well, I'm kind of doing my podcast right now, honey.
I want to show you this website. I saw these cool things at Florida SuperCon, and the website is www.drwhocrystals.com. You know my birthday's coming up.
It is. Let me type that up right now.
So do you see this? They are laser engraved crystals with pictures of the Doctor in the TARDIS. I want one for the living room. I've always wanted to have a TARDIS in the living room, but I've always been afraid that it's going to look like a,
But, these look really good. I mean, they're 100% crystal, and it looks like Peter Capaldi. And I know that at Florida SuperCon, these guys, because I did meet them, and these guys got the rights to Peter Capaldi's likeness. They've had the likeness of the first and second Doctor. They've made them. Really want one of these?
Yeah, I've heard that they work closely with the BBC to get the pictures just right, and we really have to order one. It only weighs about 3 pounds. It's a real thing of beauty, okay? It looks elegant, and you have to check it out. Their website is www.drwhocrystals.com, and they are so affordable, Mark, that I want one for my birthday. And then, in a couple of months, the holidays are coming up. Get one for me then, too.
You got it, hon.
The voice of Christian Basel, take 1.
Hi, I'm Christian Basel, and I would like to provide my voice for all your voiceover needs, such as...
Okay, like an announcer.
Like a what?
Like an announcer.
For all your voiceover needs, such as animation, radio, announcements, introductions...
Now an old man.
I can even record voicemail for all the Meshuggahs that call you.
A pirate.
Arr, and it won't cost you a lot of treasure for me services. Arr.
Creepy movie voice.
Just call 407-761-2679. 407-761-2679. Or email voiceofchristianbasil@yahoo.com. Well, how was that?
That's a wrap.
And I'd like to say right now, Mark Who 42 is proud to have 9.9 Comics as a sponsor for our show. 9.9 Comics, if you're out in Brevard County, this is one of the places to go and visit. They've just started recently, and they're located off of 1284 Sarno Road in the Melbourne area. They're starting out, but I met Matt and the team, and they are just really, really, as far as customer service is concerned, phenomenal. It's a really great store. They were telling me about a point system, Mark, and forgive me, I'm not familiar with it, but that's where the 9.9 comes from. When you go to a comic book store, some comics are just laying out there loose and for everybody to read and such like that. And every time somebody picks it up, it kind of depreciates over time. Not in this store. Every comic is protected. In fact, you can't even read the comics. They're all protected for your pleasure. So if you want to keep these comics for longevity and possibly later on try to sell them to make money off of them, they have every comic sealed up and protected. It's just phenomenal. Not only that, but one of the things I love about this comic shop is they sponsor the Candlelighters of Brevard. Now, these folks are a nonprofit organization that take care of children in the Brevard area who are suffering from cancer. So if you want more information on them, go to www.candlelightersofbrevard.org. If you want more information about the charity that they sponsor, and definitely go on their Facebook site at 9.9 Comics. Can't miss it. Matt and the team are wonderful. Go visit them out there and tell them that Mark Who 42 sent you.
Hello, I'm Claire Eden. I'm based in London in the United Kingdom, and I am the producer on a new podcast series called Strangeness in Space, and also producer on the Ministry of Chance series. And you're listening to Mark Who 42.
Welcome back to Mark Who 42 here on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me are Christian Basel and Zion Quiros. Now, today we have a very special guest. Yes, I say that every week, but I really mean it. Really mean it this week.
And he says that every week.
I do. We have the dude himself. And no, we're not talking about the Big Lebowski. We're talking about Daniel Hoffmann-Gill. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going great. Daniel, for those who don't know who the heck you are, can you tell us a little about yourself, about your life, your early life?
Yeah, sure. Full title is Daniel Hoffmann-Gill, which is double barrel, which makes me sound like I'm really posh, but I'm not. It's because my mum and dad were married when I was born, and my dad was on the run from the police. So my mum wasn't sure if he was going to stick around. And so she split the difference. In case he ran off, then I would just be Hoffman. And then if he stayed, I would kind of just be Gill, but I just stayed Hoffmann-Gill. So there we go.
Well,
so
Uncle all actors have 3 names out there. Jenna left the club when she was Jenna Louise Coleman, then she went to Jenna Coleman. So
yeah, I think it's just that some, I get in my occasional dealings with internet trolls, one of the first things they hit on is, oh, your fancy double-barreled name must mean that you're some kind of, rich kid. So the reality is far more complicated than that. I know, but they're idiots. So, they go for the low-hanging fruit. They go for the name, they go for the beard, and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Well, the beard's awesome.
Yeah.
Beard is awesome.
Let me add something for those of you listening who, okay, now we know that it's Daniel. We know that he's on the show. But who did he play? And we said dude, but your character name was Boars, and you were in the Series 9 premiere and the little prologue film they made before that, The Magician's Apprentice and The Doctor's Meditation.
Yeah,
so
that's
now
correct.
You know what he looks like. I'm trying to give a picture. You're 6'6", and you're a giant. You're a giant.
Yeah.
We're gonna make a new Doctor Who episode, The Giant, and
Yeah.
you're gonna miss the
I'm ginormous.
You're big.
I know you're ginormous. Yeah, that's what I hear.
I weigh a lot as well, so I am.
But that works for 6'6". Weighing a lot works. So you're
but some tall guys are very kind of beanpoly, but
I don't like that. I'm not for that. No.
I'm a man mountain. That is the technical description I've been given.
There you go. That's good.
I just see you taking Daniel to medieval times. He goes, he fits right in.
He totally would. If you come to Florida, we'll take you to medieval times, and you'll have a good time eating with your hands, watching
and all.
jousting in an arena. It'll be fun. You'll have a good time.
Mark jousting. He'll be the horse.
No,
Daniel, back.
Let's go back to Daniel's life. Daniel, I hear that you had a tough teenage period of your life. Do you talk about it, or do you just...
Yeah, it doesn't bother. Yeah, it doesn't. I wrote a play about it, so it's not it's.
Okay, tell us about it.
Well, only in the sense that people are interested, that I am cool talking about it. It's not like I feel my circumstances were exceptional, or that I deserve anything, from that particular upbringing. It's just that the part of the UK in England where I grew up, a place called Nottingham, I grew up in a rough neighbourhood called St Anne's, and growing up in St Anne's means that certain, kind of life choices are kind of easier to come to if they lead in a slightly more criminal direction. Yeah. And as I've already said, my dad had a criminal background. So it's just that. It was just I just grew up in a rough neighborhood. So when you grow up in a rough neighborhood, people's choices can be a little bit more limited due to poverty, and that means I was lucky. I was able to make some correct educational choices, but lots of my friends weren't in a privileged enough position to be able to make that journey. Yeah. And I was. So, I'm always really, that's why I've got quite a few tattoos, and a lot of those relate to my time in a gang, which just helped me remember, a lot of the kind of the people that were lost along the way. And, I feel super grateful to be in the position that I am now and have been on the journey that I'm on. So, but it's really important for me to remember where I come from, not to celebrate so much, but just it's a lot of people are trapped in poverty.
Part of you.
Yeah, now the play was Our Style is Legendary that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, which is a play about my childhood and with my best friend Michael who died at 16.
He died of a heroin overdose.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, he did in December 8th, 1992.
Wow.
And he's been dead a really long time, which just blows my mind. Yeah.
But I mean, it's inspirational that you come from such a background, and you've made yourself, you've risen above it, and you've become. I don't want to use the word famous, but you're working. You are an actor. You got in the business.
Yeah, that's all I ever wanted to do. I never wanted to be famous. I mean, it's been 20 years actually. This July, I've been a professional actor, and that's all I ever wanted from the age of about 9 or 10 was to be a professional actor and just to make a living. I don't care about fame, and I've been lucky for about 12 or 13 of those 20 years. I've been able to make a living, which is really cool because most actors in the UK and in the US don't. It's only a handful that can do that. So yeah, it's just about keep working, keep grafting, keep saying yes to stuff, keep doing cool stuff, and and hopefully I won't ever have to go back to being a bouncer.
A bouncer. I think you're the second guest we've had on the show that was a bouncer. Wow.
I didn't last very long. It's only like a couple of weeks. I've had a lot of jobs in the past.
Wow, yeah.
I guess it depends on it all depends on somebody's character. Who everybody has different lives that we live, and it depends on what direction you want to take from it and rise from the ashes. My experiences are not are different. They weren't as I would say as violent as yours, but my parents were a split mixed couple. My dad is Irish. My mother was Filipino. I know that doesn't make sense, but when you move into a community that was all World War II veterans and your neighbor is a Pearl Harbor survivor, that doesn't work too well when your family is looked upon that way. But
completely. I mean, my grandparents were refugees from Germany.
Oh.
So it's I can completely appreciate that. Most people have got some kind of hardship that they have to work through in their life, and it's a very rare person that doesn't have any hardship that they need to work through or any kind of oppression that they've received. And that's why I have a huge admiration for our species, because most of us do really well to get up out of bed in the morning, considering the stuff that we've had to endure or have gone through. So it's. I can hear that definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and my parents decided instead of, they wanted me to rise above it. And instead of being, somebody to take it like a punk or, just hide away, they said, rise above it, become better than they are. And over time, those people who didn't want to have anything to do with me going like, oh, this kid is really good. I was delivering the newsletters. I was going door to door. I became a Boy Scout. I rose above it to become respected in their eyes because I could have gone so many directions. But
I mean, Rise Above is a perfect thing because that's, as you may or may not know, my favorite band of all time is the US hardcore punk rock legends Black Flag.
Oh,
and
wow. Cool.
Famous Damaged One LP that they released in 1981, the song Rise Above. When I got into their music when I was a teenager, it was a huge, really important anthem, because the Rollins, well, actually the lyrics are written by Greg Ginn, but there's that lyric which is, we are born with a chance and I'm going to have my chance. Mm-hmm. And when you say Rise Above, that's all I can think of is that amazing Black Flag song that is a real, that's if everyone's feeling a bit low, I put that tune on and that's the motivation to do stuff.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Daniel, were you a Whovian before you got the role as Boris?
No, I mean, I'd watched it as a kid because my mum and I used to eat dinner, our evening meal together, and we'd watch the telly. So it was on at perfect, dinner eating time. So I used to watch it when I was a kid, but then I stopped, just stopped. And not really had much kind of interest in it. I was aware of it and was always curious about who the Doctor was. It's a bit like who's going to be James Bond. It's an interesting sport.
Right.
But no, I in terms of like being a proper fan, I would say it's something roughly that passed me by. Yeah.
Now, have you watched it since?
No.
No. Okay, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I've watched a little bit of it. Because I really like Peter Capaldi. I mean, he's just a phenomenal actor. So I have watched now and then. Because I just like watching him in whatever he might be doing. But it's kind of I like it, but it's not something. I don't really watch a lot of television or films. I just have to say that now is that I don't actually watch a lot of stuff at all. I just read a lot. So I know that sounds really pretentious, but it's just true. I'm not a big watcher of television or films at this stage in my life, so I just spend a lot of time on the internet reading. So it's not like it's a slight against Doctor Who. I just don't watch much at all of anything. Like, I've never seen Game of Thrones. I've not seen anything that's really cool and supposed to be awesome. I've not watched any of those shows. I think the last big show I watched was like The Sopranos. So,
I love The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Is it because you don't have time, or is it because you just don't have an interest? I was just curious.
Mostly because I don't have an interest.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think television. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this all day. I think television can be really destructive, and it can consume a lot of your time, and you can transport. Yeah, you can transport yourself into the narratives, and you can feel like you're living a life when in reality you're not. And I have no problem with people watching telly. Of course, people do what they want. But I think a lot of people watch. Yeah, I just think there's lots of cool things to do in life. I like traveling. I'm really looking forward to coming to Ohio in October, but I'm going to arrive early so I can nip across the border into Indiana and and just see what's going on. I love small town America, so I want to. But I've never done Ohio or Indiana, so yeah, I just traveling and reading and all that stuff. That's.
Well, reading is good because I work in a library, so I'm with you on that one.
Well, people who work in libraries are legends because, we're suffering some library closures here in the UK, and I don't know what's happening in the US, but
same thing.
Yeah, well, public library services are absolutely essential. They're an important pillar of the community and of education. The ability to access books for free is just so important.
What's your favorite subject to read up on?
I'm in a big non-fiction phase. When I was younger, I just used to read loads of fiction. At the moment, I'm just trying to read about stuff that's affecting Europe. So a lot of stuff on immigration and Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan. And that's currently. And I'm reading some interesting stuff about charity and about how to give effectively and to get the most for the money that you put into charity and all this. So, non-fiction at the moment. I've really struggled to read novels, but in the past, when I was younger, I've read most of the good ones.
Now, you don't watch TV, but you definitely do TV, and I wanted to bring up Gallivant.
Yeah,
because Gallivant was on primetime American TV. I mean, you hit America. You hit, and 2 seasons. I don't know. Was it picked up for a third, or is it over?
No, it was done after 2. Gallivant was amazing, and the thing that's really frustrating about Gallivant is it still hasn't been picked up in the UK. Now, considering how much we love musicals over here, it was optioned to ITV, which I'm sure you guys won't necessarily know about, but it's the wrong place for Gallivant to be optioned to. ITV is not the right channel. It's very commercial.
Put it on Channel 4.
Yeah, there you
Channel
go.
4 would be a better channel for it,
Yeah. But in my contract, it's and I think they have it tied down. ITV have it tied down for a few more years yet. So I think that's the problem with getting it over in the UK, because the British people would love it. They love a song and a dance.
Yeah, they would.
And most of the actors in it are British.
And you get to play a pirate. A lot of kids would be jealous. Oh, a pirate.
It was awesome. Yeah, being a pirate, that's the great thing about my job, is that I can be all kinds of weird and wonderful things. So, yeah, the Gallivant is great. It's a great TV show, and it was huge fun to make, and a wonderful cast and a wonderful team behind that. Really good people. So, yeah, it was awesome.
Just out of curiosity, when did the acting bug hit you? When was the moment that you said, I can do this?
I was 10. I was doing a play by Joan Cartwright called "Oh, What a Lovely War" at my junior school, and I saw the power that a bunch of 10, 9-year-old kids had acting over the grown-ups. We had them in tears because the play, if you don't know it, it's about the carnage of the First World War, and I thought, this is a cool job. As a 10-year-old, if I can make adults feel like this, then that's really awesome. So since then, it was my teacher was called Mrs. Brown, and she totally inspired me. And then I was lucky to have a teacher called Miss Lewis at Comprehensive School, which is our version of high school. And she encouraged that in me. So yeah, I was 10. It's a very specific moment. Doing that show, doing the bow, and seeing a lot of the adult audience in tears really blew my mind as a teen. Yeah.
I was just thinking that it was on attention about your childhood and whatnot, about your parents being refugees from Germany.
Grandparents. Yeah.
And I
did
and
they
I was
leave
wondering,
because of the Nazis, or was
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's another dimension. Yeah.
I was wondering that, like, since the whole Battle of Britain and whatnot happened, that when you was growing up, did you get any people giving you wrong eyes since your parents were refugees from Germany and whatnot?
No, but all it enabled me to do, obviously people were curious about Hoffmann and where that came from, but all it enabled me to do was to give them a different perspective on the Second World War and on the First World War, because my great-great-grandfather fought in the First and the Second. So yeah, it enabled me to give a different perspective about what it was like, obviously, for Germans and for German Jews, and, you know, that it's always good to call a Nazi by the name Nazi rather than just saying, oh, the Germans. Yeah. Because the
Germans aren't Nazis. All Germans aren't Nazis, and you don't want to say that they were all it, because that would just be. It would be wrong.
You're generalizing something that should be labeled on people that, you know, might not follow that, but they, you know.
Because I had family that escaped from Nazi Germany, and yet I've gone to Germany and I've visited and toured it, and it's not. I mean, there are bad things that happen there, but it's not a bad place. You don't want to generalize.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, my mum and her sister and brother were taken off my grandparents because my grandmother was ill, and my German grandfather, he wasn't deemed appropriate to be able to look after children, so they were put to care, and this was in 1951. So there was still a lot of anti-German sentiment then, like a German man wasn't considered suitable, so his kids were taken off him. So yeah, they encountered some real prejudice even long after the war had finished. So yeah, that's the part. That's what happens to most refugees that arrive. They're the weakest, but they get attacked. But that unfortunately is human. Seems to be human behavior, sadly.
Now, I know that you are not religious, really, in any way. That you would rather read Nietzsche than the Bible, and
I've read it now. The Bible, and the Quran,
and the Quran. What do you find so fascinating about Nietzsche?
It's not. It was to do with the period in my life. I think I was reading lots of other things that really tied in with the idea of one thing that happens with Nietzsche is that it's the idea of the Superman that was obviously, funnily enough, misused by the Nazis. Yeah. But it's about finding strength from within. God is dead. Having to turn inward. Having to look at humanity, and rather than measure your behavior based upon the judgment of a Godhead, is measure your behavior based upon how you treat others, and about that. And yeah, it's a more humanist approach, I suppose. But I was reading lots of other things, Sartre as well. You know, it was I was looking for a useful template. I mean, I hardly look back at that stuff now. It was like it helped form an ideology in me that I still hold on to now, and it's just so well written. Most philosophers are really dry and boring, but Nietzsche's it's like poetry, and it's funny as well. It's cool. It's very good writing. Everyone should read it.
Now, last year you got to appear with Johnny Depp and a lot of other people in Alice Through the Looking Glass. How'd working on that go?
Man, that was mind blowing. That's the biggest. That's the biggest thing I've done to date in terms of the scale and the money that was involved. Wow, it was cool. But I actually I filmed for ages, and a fraction of what I did appeared on screen, but that's just what happens in things like that, But yeah, the scale of the project, I mean, they built a replica 18th century boat from scratch and put it on hydraulics. I mean, it was an exact copy down to the smallest detail. I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing. I had a total blast, met some really cool people on that job. So yeah, that was huge. I mean, the scale of that was mind-blowing. Yeah.
Now, we've asked a lot of our friends our celebrity friends from the UK, what's the difference between working in American and working with the UK as far as productions are concerned. And the answer we get generally is, they have catering there. And they go, I could eat forever in America.
Services, yeah.
And the UK, everybody has to buy their own food. So, Daniel, question to you: what besides that, what else do you see the difference as far as working productions in the US and the UK?
That's a really interesting question. I would say it's quite hard. My gut tells me about the differing roles that producers play. I think the producers very powerful in the States, and they have a degree of artistic involvement that I'm not as aware of in the UK, where they can take a lot more of a distant role. They're really present and they make themselves known, and that's cool. But you feel the money, the strands of money that they're in control of it. Right. It just, yeah, that would be my thing off the top of my head, is it feels a lot more present in kind of US run projects. So yeah, that's the thing. It's the power and influence of the producer is very, very present in American stuff. Yeah.
Now, how has Doctor Who changed your life? The moment that you took the role of Bors, and then the moment after which, when it premiered, how did your life change?
It didn't change that much when I first took the part, apart from it was just really cool to work with Peter, and that's a real highlight, especially the prelude that we made. That was when I got the script for that, and it's 20 pages and it's just me and him. I nearly fainted because I was waiting for some other parts to appear, and I was like, oh no, it's just me and the Doctor.
It
cool.
was kind of like a two-hander, wasn't it? It was definitely.
No, it was. Yeah, it was. We were a great comedy double act that I hope we can get back together outside of Doctor Who. So that was that thing, and then afterwards, it's changed a lot because really boosted my profile. It introduced me to all the Whovians and what a great fan base they are, because they just really friendly, and like most things that I do, Doctor Who fans will come out and support it in plays, and and a lot of the time they won't even let me know they've come till afterwards. It's not like they hang around afterwards for signatures and stuff. They'll come and support the work and then let me know that they've been to see it, or sometimes not at all. So when the play I've just finished, Doctor Who fans came, and some want to hang around afterwards and chat and stuff, but some just. So yeah, it's just that you kind of become part of this. You become part of this cool family, and yeah, I think it's that. And I still get letters, from fans of all ages that and they write me and stuff, which is just really cool because no one writes letters anymore apart from Doctor Who fans.
Yeah, we've been doing this for gets going on for 5 years, but our convention run, I think, goes about 3.5. And yeah, there's nothing like a Doctor Who family, because not only do they support you when Who is on, they'll support you when Who is off. Yeah. And they will be. Yeah. They come to our conventions, and when we first started our conventions, I think the last convention panel that we had, there may have been like 5 or 10, and 2 of them were charging their cell phones in the back. Today, most recently, we went to Florida SuperCon, and there were, I'm not exaggerating, maybe like 50 people, and they wouldn't leave until we left.
Yeah, it's the last panel of the convention.
But they'll support you, and even the stuff that afterwards they'll go and see Daniel in a play or something like that, just because of that connection.
Yeah, and that's been really cool. And obviously, I've not done tons of Doctor Who events for numerous reasons, but when I have, obviously, it's great because you just you meet the fans, because obviously some of my friends go, "Oh, are they a bit weird?" And I can honestly answer, I've not had any strange behavior, nothing inappropriate, nothing odd, nothing bizarre has happened at all. Everyone's always been really friendly, really cool. I've got obviously active friends that have been in different kinds of shows, and some of the fans can be really obsessive and intrusive and disrespectful. And that's I'm really glad to say, but it's not because I'm just talking to you guys. It's true. It's never happened. I've never had a weird request for a picture or anything, a bit sexual. None of that has occurred.
Let me play with your beard.
I'm sorry nothing sexual has happened to you because of this.
Yeah.
Really, you got to work on that. And maybe you can work on it at the convention that you're coming to. No, he's married. He's married. He's not going to do that. How's Ava, by the way? Is she okay?
Yes.
Just want to make sure. I don't want her to get upset when she hears this that you're going to go. No. That you're going to Ohio to meet up with some Doctor Who.
I'm getting upset listening to that.
But you're coming to Time Lord Expo that we're going to be at in Dayton, Ohio, in October.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Mostly just because. It'd be cool to meet people, but I've just spent so much time in the States. I've driven across the country many years ago, and there's not many states that I haven't been to apart from Ohio and Indiana, which I'm going to tick off the list. Yeah, it's just cool. And the thing is, I took my wife to America for the first time a couple of years ago, and I said, one thing you're going to have to get used to is that Americans are really friendly, and that's... it is. Okay. From an outsider's perspective.
Okay, from an outsider's perspective. Okay.
But the thing is that what you guys take for granted as regular, everyday American citizen behavior is actually exceptionally friendly in terms of the willingness to strike up conversation, the curiosity, the happiness to discuss all kind of subjects and not take offense, and just that openness is something that isn't just every day for you guys, but for a British person and probably for other Europeans that come over, it's just really nice because you can just chat to someone and you not feel like you're weird, which is what it feels like in the UK a little bit if you just spark up a conversation over here. So I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast, and I presume I'm going to get to meet all you guys face to face.
You'll get to meet myself and Christian and Patty Hawkins, who is away this weekend while we're recording this at Dragon Con, just to let people know that. Okay. But yeah, we'll have a good time. Maybe we'll go get a drink in the bar. We'll talk more there.
Yeah.
I do want to point out, you got to do Sherlock. For the first episode of the 4th series, you were in The Six Thatchers.
Yeah, which was, again, that was... the table read for that was mad because that was in Cardiff and we all sat down and, there's obviously some really big actors in that show and they were, Martin Freeman especially just made me feel really welcome. We had a drink together even though we didn't have any scenes together, and I had makeup done with Benedict most mornings, and again, I know people go they should be friendly, but I can tell you some people really aren't. And that show again, Mark Gatiss had a great time hanging out with him and got to see Steve Moffat again. So it was, it kind of felt, obviously because there was a lot of recognisable faces there and it was filmed in Cardiff and a lot of the crew were the same. It was very, what's the word? It was easy to slip into.
That's good. All right. Daniel, do you have any projects coming up that we should know about?
The short answer is no.
Well, we don't want the short answer. We want the long answer that's going to take another hour. So go for it.
The
thing is that I don't actually think I've got anything to plug. I've just finished a play, which was again just an absolute blast. And the actor's life is that most of the time you have no idea what's coming up next. I've only just finished the show, so I've just started, auditioning for projects again. But, you don't normally find out for like a week or a couple of weeks. So as it stands at the moment, it's a case of watch this space. Something will come up because something always does or has done for 20 years. So I'm sure there'll be something. But as to what it is, I I've got no idea. That's the exciting thing about this job. It's just into the nothingness. And then something occurs. Apart from, I'm going to India for 6 weeks on holiday.
Wow, that's actually very cool.
Over Christmas and New Year with my wife, we're going to have a huge adventure and see as much of the country as we can in 6 weeks. So that's something we've just booked the flights about an hour and a half ago, actually.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so
you heard it here first on Mark Who 42.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any Doctor Who fans in India, but if there is, I'm sure there are. It's a worldwide thing. We have listeners in India, so if you're listening to us in India, try to find Daniel. Over Christmas vacation. Somewhere to stay.
I wanted to talk one more thing. There's a show in England called Tricked.
Yes.
And you were on 2 episodes. Can you explain to our audience what the show is and what you did on that?
Yeah. So Tricked is a secret camera show. So all the filming is completely hidden. And the magician, of which I'm not the magician, who's called Ben, the magician kind of uses magic to deceive people in everyday situations. So one of the scenarios I was in was that a guy owed money because he bought this, it was to do with him buying this PlayStation and that they were stolen and all this. And I came around as a debt collector to collect a debt and intimidate. And this guy was caught in it who'd been selling this PlayStation. And it was all on secret camera, so he's got no idea. He thinks it's all real. And then the magician, Ben Hanlon, he made £1,000 appear out of nowhere in this box and saved the day. And then obviously everyone reveals that it's hidden camera and all this stuff. So yeah, but it was pretty bad because the guy was visibly shaking. He thought he was going to, because I was threatening that obviously hands were going to get broken, legs were going to get broken, and I could see his heart was nearly beating out of his chest. It felt really mean. But obviously afterwards he was cool. He was cool. I gave him a hug. Everything was fine. So yeah, and then the other scenario on Tricked was that we made a celebrity think that something daft like £250,000 had been lost. And it was his fault. And I was the security guard. So he was, that was another one. He was absolutely terrified as £250,000 disappeared into the River Thames. But obviously it kind of magically reappeared again. So yeah, Tricked is
you shouldn't just say celebrity. You're teasing everyone. Who was it? And I know some people may not know him in the States, but who? Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
Because I'm trying to remember.
He's a dancer. He's a dancer, and what was his name? Oh, I'm so sorry. This is how bad I am with people who are television famous. It's really hard for me to remember their names.
Was it Louis Spence?
Louis Spence.
It was Louis Spence.
Yeah. He's a famous dancer, and he works on some reality TV shows or talent shows and all that stuff. And he's really camp, and he was a really cool guy. And the funny thing was...
And the money, that would have been...
Yeah, and he just panicked. And it was great, because earlier, he obviously didn't know. He just thought I was a security guard. He was flirting with me. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun, because in about half an hour, you're going to be terrified of me, because I'm going to be looking for the money. So yeah, no, it's cool. Ben, the magician, Ben Hanlon and I have become pals. We supported one another when we were up in Edinburgh together last year. And Tricked is not on television at the moment, but Ben is a really, really good magician. So I've no doubt that he'll be back on British television screens really soon. And also, you guys probably know. Do you know Piff, the Magic Dragon? I think he got to the final of America's Got Talent.
Yeah, I'm not a big America's Got Talent fan.
Fair enough. He's just a friend of mine. We went to drama school together. So he's really big in Vegas. He lives in Vegas now, and he's got a regular show at one of I think he's at the Flamingo. Yeah, he's at the Flamingo, and he's got a regular show there. So, but obviously him and Ben also know of one another, because the world of magicians is a very closed and small ones. So, they're both two really cool magicians. If you get a chance to check out, if you're in Vegas, go and see Piff the Magic Dragon. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
You're gonna laugh. Thanks to the BBC, BBC America, PBS, and quite a few other cable channels like Discovery and History, I never watch anything on US.
Except Gallivant. He watched Gallivant.
No, I'm afraid I didn't. I didn't even watch ABC.
Too many commercial breaks in the States.
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. When I'm watching Victoria on ITV, and I won't tell you how I do it, but when I'm watching Victoria on ITV, and there comes on a commercial break, that lasts 3 minutes? That you've got long commercial breaks too.
But you guys do that annoying thing where you have a commercial break just before the credits.
Yeah,
just before.
That's true.
So
that is the stupid
thing. That is
thing.
true.
Yeah.
It works.
It's another thing, too. I'd rather watch a bunch of guys try to fish crab than watch anything on America's Got Talent. I mean, that's either telling how pathetic I am or...
No. I hear you. I don't watch any of those shows, but John obviously kept me up to date with his progress, and he made the final, which is bonkers. I appreciate that. Then I don't watch Britain's Got Talent over here. It's just bad telly. There's mostly people around laughing at people who aren't very good at stuff.
I mean, that's all the shows. Cool. That's all the show's for, really. Especially during the audition episodes. Yeah. It's just to make fun of the people, and that's not. Cool.
And if you look at the viewing figures after the opening rounds, where the cruelty's gone, they start to die off.
Yeah.
People, and that's why they put those heartbreak stories in. You're like, my son's got leukemia, and that's why I should win. And because it's to try and maintain some level of connection beyond cruelty into the narratives of the show. But the viewing figures always bottom out, and then when it gets to the final, out of vague interest, they kind of go up, but they never match the cruelty of the rounds, which is. I don't know what that says about the viewing public, but it's not good, is it?
It says bad things about the viewing public. It does. Any last questions, guys?
I do have one, but I don't know if it should be interjected because I was actually also going to save it for Time X.
Save it for Time X.
No. I'll ask, but because some of the questions might have to be repeated for Time X, but it's a different audience and stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, here it comes. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate dude? When somebody says it to you, or have you embraced it?
Fully embraced it.
Fully embraced it?
Yeah, it's why I sign on photographs.
And that's why we had Dude Hoffmann-Gill on our show today. Dude, I'd like to thank you for coming on Mark Who 42. No, Daniel, we were just playing with it.
Dude,
absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure, guys. It's been a blast. Thank you.
It has been. You're listening to Mark Who 42. We'll be back after this.
Dude.
Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
This portion of Mark Who 42 has been brought to you by Harlequin Cosplay and Crafts. You can go to our site right now, markwho42.net, and click on her icon. Make sure to use promo code MarkWho42 for free shipping of any of her cosplay images and merchandise. And you will see Amelia Poole, that's her real name, Amelia Poole, who runs the site. She's going to be at the Space Coast Comic-Con and a lot more other conventions coming up on the Space Coast. She usually hangs around there in Central Florida. Gorgeous woman. Absolutely gorgeous. You got to see her Harley Quinn cosplay. You got to see her Dana from Ghostbusters. I mean, just a beautiful woman on that. And she actually does some crafts, including, I guess, what they call the Cobb hat, the Firefly hat that Jane Cobb uses. She's got merchandise up there. Check it out. Tell her once you see her anywhere, Mark Who 42 sent you.
Jamie Engel was on our show the other week, and she is our newest member of the Mark Who 42 sponsored family. Jamie Engel is an award-winning author of science fiction and horror novels and stories. The Toilet Papers, a book that she wrote, is a collection of short stories ranging from 50 words to more than 5,000. to match your bathroom needs. But here are some other facts that you may not know about her. She cosplays Marty McFly Jr., Wonder Woman, Garth from Wayne's World, and Trinity from The Matrix. She speaks to kids about bullying and to authors about writing and marketing their books. She once owned a body shop, managed a hip-hop band, and danced at the Aloha Bowl halftime show. Wow, that's really cool. But without coffee, the world would end. So definitely you should read some of Jamie Engel's work, and you can if you go to her website, therighteangle.com. THEWRITEENGLE.com. And don't forget, follow her on Instagram at The Right Angle.
Hello, I'm Nicholas Briggs, the voice of many monsters on Doctor Who, and executive producer of Big Finish Productions. And I'm pleased to announce that Mark Who 42 Books have joined forces with Big Finish to bring you Big Finish Audio.
There's this fella who calls himself the Doctor, and he says he has saved me, and we are in his time machine.
You all right? I think I've broken something. What about you?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks.
I don't think I broke your fall.
Oh, sorry.
Mark Who 42 Books will now offer to bring you the best in Big Finish audio.
But why are they here?
How do you do?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, no need to. I'm the Doctor, and this is...
I am Leela.
By all means, please do come out to play, Doctor. I'm waiting for you.
To find where Mark Who 42 Books will be, go to markwho42.net or on their Facebook site at markwho42.
What are you saying? They fizzled in somehow, like the TARDIS?
Yeah, transmat from another dimension. The TARDIS doesn't fizzle. It's more of a...
Also go to markwho42.net and download my interview with the team.
You're executive producer at Big Finish Productions.
Correct.
Correct.
Is this a quiz?
Mark Who 42, taking you to the Whoniverse and beyond.
Mark Who 42 is proud to have Famous Faces and Funnies. This is a huge, mega comic book store. I mean, they just have literally tons and tons of comic books, novelties, everything. They're located off of 3020 New Haven Avenue in West Melbourne. And if you want to give them a call and just let them know Mark Who 42 sent you, it's 321-259-3575. But this thing is just a huge, I mean, you've seen comic book stores and nothing against them, but you've seen them, you know, these tiny little shops, and they have comic books and they have merchandise and memorabilia and such like that. This place is like the best term I can put is the Costco of comic book shops. So you go from one store and there's another section, and it's just huge. They have Funkos. They have tons and tons and tons of stuff in there. I mean, it's hard to explain. But if you have any geekdom out there, Famous Faces and Funnies have got it covered for you, from Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, everything. And also Rick is the guy who runs it, and all the team over there, nice, friendly people. Definitely want to check out our friends at Famous Faces and Funnies in the West Melbourne area if you're out there.
Hi, everybody. I am Eric Loya. I play Boyish the Extraordinary on The Inspector Chronicles, untitled web series about a space traveler who can also travel through time. And you are listening to Mark Who 42.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Mark Who 42. Thanks for sticking around with us. And with me is Zion Quiros. Oh, dude, that was a great episode. I'm serious. That was a great interview. Oh, that was just lame. Never mind. No. But yeah, that was some interesting stuff from our new friend, Daniel Hoffmann-Gill. What did you think about the interview there?
It was a very wonderful one. I very much enjoyed it, and I hope that he did too.
Yeah, he had a great time, and we can't wait. But I'm already jumping myself as far as places where we're going to be that you can see him with us. But I digress. Let me go ahead and get started on this. We are having conventions throughout the rest of the year, starting off which MegaCon Tampa Bay, which is next weekend, starting September 29th to October 1st at the Tampa Convention Center. We're going to be out there hosting panels. Got quite a few celebrities, including Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, better known as Bill and Ted. Jay and Silent Bob. I will tell you that story at the end there, why I'm thinking about that. Also, but mostly Alex Kingston from Doctor Who is going to be down there, as well as a recovering John Barrowman. Can't wait. And guess who's coming back for another appearance at a convention that I could swear, I'm sorry, I'm not insulting Stan Lee, but I think he's using Barbara Streisand's agent for, his going away. I'm dead serious. Stan Lee has been confirmed he will be a guest at Tampa Bay MegaCon, and probably for another conventions, hopefully for the next 10, 20 years. God bless the man. But he has just been added to the list of guests who's going to be out there, and especially us, Marco 42, we're going to be having panels every day throughout the convention. We have the merchandise booth out there in its full glory. The entire team will be there with also Patty Hawkins will make an appearance on Saturday. A couple of geeks will be out there, Mark, myself, and Zion. So we're going to have a full accompaniment there. Again, that's taking place September 29th to October 1st at the Tampa Convention Center. Get your tickets now. Get them quick because, it's just next week and that's it. Following a couple weeks after that is Time Lord Expo taking place in Dayton, Ohio. If you still want to get your tickets right now, I don't know if it's sold out as of yet, but please check if you haven't up there and you're going to that convention, as we are. The Tom Baker tickets, the Tom Baker Experience, is almost sold out. I think the last time I saw it, they only had 4 left. Yep, that's it. And then you won't be able to go in there and then, and get the Tom Experience. This has only happened at another convention. This will be the second convention that's ever happened. Located at the Holiday Inn in Dayton, 2800 Presidential Drive in Fairborn, Ohio. The dates are from the 13th to the 15th. Get your tickets now. It's going to be fun. Tons and tons of guests over there. Sophie Aldred, Daniel Hoffmann-Gill is going to be out there with us. Just tons and tons of guests. You'll see them and now they have Michelle Gomez in place of Paul McGann. So it's just going to be a great time there, meeting a whole new group of Whovians in Dayton, Ohio. And last but not least, New Year's Eve in Tampa, the Time Lord Ball with our show host, Mark42, is going to be out there December 31st. More information about all these conventions are located at marku42.net on our Facebook page, and check us out there. More of these events and upcoming events as they come along, always subject to change without notice, and you'll be maybe surprised that there might be a few events maybe squeezing in there a little bit out there. But again, keep an eye out on marku42.net, our Facebook and Twitter page, as well as now our Instagram page. Yeah, I know. It's a radio show. What are we doing on Instagram? But that was Mark's call, but I'm happy. We're on Instagram, so that's pretty darn cool there. If you want to listen, please tell your friends. If you love this show, you want them to geek out as hard as you can when you listen to our show, tell them to go on iHeart, iTunes. Go to the Google Play Store and download our apps, both for iPhone and Android. You can find Marku42 anywhere on the internet. You can listen to our episodes at any given time, and we have a new episode, depending on hurricanes and other things, every week, and we are approaching not only our 200th episode, can you believe that, 5 years, and we're getting up to 200 episodes, but we are also entering in our Halloween specials coming up for the month of October. You want to check those out, stay tuned, stick around there. Zion, do you have any final words for our audience before we go?
Pre-order the Big Finish. That's all I gotta say, because I'm very hyped for that.
There you go. Make sure you get some Big Finish out there, and if you're at any of our conventions that we're going to have the Marku42 booths, we will have the latest episodes. We will have special episodes out there for you, but that's all the time we've got for today there, folks. And again, folks, all of our loves, hope, and prayers, and our support for everybody who was affected by both these storms, Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma. Speedy recovery for all of you. All of our hopes, love, and prayers for your families, your friends who have been affected by this, and that you get through this tragedy as fast as you can, that you get power restored, that you get water, that all your friends who out there are doing okay, all your family members are doing wonderful, and they get through this tragedy. But I guess that's the price of being in paradise here in Florida. These things keep going, but what's wonderful about this is that even on my own Facebook page, I do see Whovians helping each other, and it's just wonderful when people are going like, I just need a place to stay for a couple of nights, to can somebody just lend me $50 so I can go to the local Wawa and get some gas. Just phenomenal how people will help each other out here, and especially Whovians. My goodness, there's some people who are staying in places, they were spending the night, they were only expecting to be there for a couple of nights, and now they've been there for a week because they still just can't get into their house. And it's just a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, it is definitely really nice to see that the worst of situations can still bring out the best in people.
Mm-hmm. And just like Doctor Who, when everything hits the fan and when people get together and do such wonderful things and work together, to see it in real life is just wonderful. And I think that story just echoes throughout all the stories that Doctor Who and the core values of what the Doctor is. And we want you to keep listening to us, and we're going to try to put out an episode every week. And as we approach our 200th episode, we've been doing this for 5 years, our 200th episode, not only that, next month in October, we're going to have some Halloween specials coming up with some special guests, but stay tuned for that. We're coming up to episode 200. We're not going to stop. We're enjoying what we're doing because you guys love what we're doing, and we're having a great time doing it. And as we approach the holidays and we approach 2018, we want you to still continue to listen to us. iTunes, iHeart, Google Play Store. We got apps for both Android and your iPhone. Please give us a listen. Tell us what you think, because that's more important as well, because we don't know if we can do things better or not if you don't tell us. And from all of us here at Mark Who 42, Godspeed for everyone who is recovering over these tragedies, and we will see you next week. Stay tuned for us then there. Other than that, as Mark would say, well, what does he say nowadays? I have no idea. That movie phone or whatever the heck he was saying, the movie sign is like, from all of us here at Mark Who 42, on behalf of Mark Baumgarten and the rest of the team, Avanti! I just made my dogs bark.
Mark Who 42 is written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Christian Basel, Patty Hawkins, Iggy Matthews, and Zion Quiros. This episode was edited, directed, and produced by Mark Baumgarten and co-produced by Christian Basel. Visit markwho42.net, where you can register and become part of the WHOniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@markwho42, subject line, ? If you'd like a chance to be a guest on our radio show, send an email to our Media Relations Director, Christian Basel, at markwho42media@yahoo.com. You can have Mark Who 42 entertain at your next event or convention. Go to heroesonhand.com/markwho42. Space Coast Comics is a free monthly magazine found in over 120 locations currently throughout Brevard County, parts of Osceola, Volusia, and Indian River County in Florida, and available in Chicago. Follow them on Facebook to learn more. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This show is owned and copyrighted by Mark Who 42 Enterprises, LLC, 2017.